Welcome to Thrive by the Rising Muse, where we explore faith, mental health, and the journey of life. I'm Naty.
I'm Vita.
And we are here to thrive. Well, today's episode is a tender and powerful one. As we approach Father's Day, we want to talk about how our experience with our earthly fathers, especially the absent ones and the harmful ones, can deeply impact how we see and relate to God as our Heavenly Father.
That's so true because many people struggle with the idea of God as Father because their own dad left wounds or their own dad was not warm.
Mm-hmm.
And that can really shape a person's spiritual life. It shaped mine.
I know it shaped mine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to understand that absence doesn't mean physical. You can have mom, dad, uh, the white picket fence, the it's 2.5, the golden retriever, and you still can have fatherlessness or neglect in the household. Some fathers are in the house physically but not emotionally.
Right.
Others send child support and never see the child or show up for a birthday or a parent teacher conference if they're forced to, or sometimes phone calls, but they're not there on the day to day. Some are abusive, verbally, physically, or sexually. So yeah, those. In my case, mine died when I was very young, but even before that, he had left the house. He left when I was 4, and he started coming like in visitations from what I remember, but then for 2 years I didn't see him, I didn't hear from him, nothing. And then the next thing I hear is he had passed away, and I think it was 9. So he wasn't there.
Yeah.
He wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, these realities can distort the image of what a father should be. A reflection of protection, provision, and unconditional love. And it took me a long time before I could feel the difference. Because, like you said, when you have a bad experience, you're thinking, my dad here mistreated me, so he's a man, he's a dad, he's going to mistreat me too. So we definitely cannot compare God.
Right.
Even though he is the creator of our Father, he's the only perfect one. And that's why the Bible says that his thoughts are higher than ours. His ways are better than our ways. So no matter what we think the best is, God is so much farther than that.
Right.
Better than that. It took me a long time, but when I did realize that God, my Father, is the way that I'm supposed to be loved. But I was an adult and married myself.
I was an adult and twice divorced when I finally figured that out. Because in my case, I thought it was my job to hold on to my dad. That my dad had left. I carried the responsibility of why he was leaving, and every time he came back, because he went through a period of time where he kept coming back home, he would promise me that he would not leave. So, and then he would. So then I figured out that maybe I wasn't doing enough for him to stay. So I figured out that loving me was conditional, and I had to do whatever I needed to do to keep you with me and loving me. And that I took that into my relationships, and I got together with people I shouldn't have because I was accepting things I shouldn't have. And then as my relationship with God came closer, it was like I was trying to perform for him, because if I made a mistake, he's gonna leave me and not love me and send me to hell. That's what I thought. So it took a lot of healing, a lot of healing, and a lot from God to show me, no, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, no matter what, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And it took a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a while.
When we talk about fathers, and here's the thing, that's not how God works. Psalm 68:5 tells us that a father to the fatherless and a defender of the widows. That's who God is. And that verse has brought comfort to so many who didn't have early fathers to protect them. So when we talk about absent fathers, what stands the most to you?
When I hear about absent fathers, I've learned not necessarily away from the home.
Mm-hmm.
It is mental separation,
Mm-hmm.
which causes physical separation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being in a room full of people and you still feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
Having a father in the home, but if he's not interacting,
right,
if he is not taking a willing participation part in the raising of the child and only there for the bragging.
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Not a part of
the education,
the spiritual,
or not a part of the physical.
Make sure that the money is in the bank, whatever needs to be done, they need clothes, right. Whatever you do it, but
and some not even is they give the wife the money, and they don't even know if the needs are covered unless she screams.
And unfortunately, there are some fathers who feel like, I keep the lights on, I keep the water running,
that's
keep
enough.
The heat, pay the mortgage or the rent, keep food in your mouth.
That's enough.
Clothes on your back. That's enough. But it's
so much
more than that. And especially if you have a father in the home, but he's still absent to my growing, my developing, not teaching me what I deserve, and making me aware of what I don't deserve so that I can be strong enough to reject that.
Or the fact that they are, like, I call it a piece of furniture. Like, they go to work, they come home, they sit in a sofa for the rest of the night because they're tired. I get it. Moms never get that chance, but he comes from work, he's tired. And then, like you said, doesn't do anything. And you are not even seeing the example of when you grow up how to treat your spouse. You don't see how to be a team, how to, you will learn the selfishness, or you learn, that just sits and screams. I watched a video not too long ago, and there was a mom crying because she on social media, and she said that she is abused by her and her kids, and her kids are like elementary school kids. These are not teenagers. One is a toddler, one is like 5 or 6. And it's because of the example of the father. They talk to her the same way dad talks to her, and they hit her, the little babies, the same way he treats her, because they're learning the wrong thing.
Yep.
So, they need to know that they are the head of the household, but that doesn't mean, you're over there giving orders. It means that you have a role to play. You have to be there. You're the person who provides the safety of the home. Providing is not just money. You provide the spiritual covering. You provide the safety of the household. You, like you said, you're the one who sets the example of what a marriage looks like. You're the one who sets the example of what a man is or how a man should treat you. So it's hard. And if you, or there's ones that don't care about you unless you do some wrong. Mm-hmm. And they just disciplinary.
No praise.
Nothing. It's
But
just, yeah.
The first to pounce on you, you make a mistake, come up short. Mm-hmm. Don't get us wrong. Mm-hmm. We love fathers. We
of course.
Fathers. And there are fathers in
their fathers are fantastic. Let me say that.
They are. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic fathers. They're fathers that have a good heart and want to be good and want to do good and try their best to protect and prepare their family for when they go out into the world. And that's why it's so important for a young woman or a little girl to feel safe.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Somebody's after me, or there's monsters under my bed or in my closet or whatever. But I know that if I when I call on my dad, he's going to get rid of them and he's going to make me feel safe. And that's what girls deserve. They deserve that. And it's tough when you grow up and you feel like, hey, I have to fend for myself. And then it's also tough when you grow up and no one has taught you or been the example of a healthy relationship.
Right.
Compared to the unhealthy. See, it's easy to have an unhealthy relationship.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's effortless.
Yeah.
But the work comes when you are building
a healthy,
right, godly, loving relationship. And not only girls, but boys need it too. And see, my mom had to raise me and my brother after she divorced my dad. So when I was a teenager, I started giving my mom Father's Day cards.
I used to do that to my mom too.
Because
she was mother and father.
She was mother and she was father.
Yeah, I used to do that too.
She was school teacher during the day.
Full-time mom.
Worked at a part-time job in the evening. Wow. And on the weekend, she worked at another part-time job. And she did that to raise my brother and myself because she did not have that support, that financial support that she needed to raise us. So for years, she worked 2 and 3 jobs. And I did. I started giving her Father's Day. We celebrated with her Mother's Day and Father's Day. Yeah. And she had to teach my brother how to be a man, how to be a gentleman, how to respect women. And she had to teach all of that. So
that was my mom with my brother.
Mothers. When God formed woman, not created her, created man, but he formed
woman.
And when he formed us knowing that we would have to step in roles, whether the father was in the home or not. Because see, before we ever sinned, he knew we were going to sin.
Yeah.
He knew that sin would come upon us. So I know he gave women everything that they need to hold a house together.
Right.
And I thank God because there are many, many wonderful fathers out there.
Oh, yeah. They are very, very good.
There are wonderful fathers that are in the home. There are also wonderful fathers that are not in the home.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There are fathers who are very, very involved.
Yes, very much so.
They go to the school. They take the girls on date nights. They, have conversations with the moms so that to make sure that they are taking decisions together and that they're very closely involved in the parenting. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Absent father doesn't mean that it lives there. It doesn't mean that it doesn't live there. How many, I think we interviewed somebody who was in the military, and she said that as the husband tried to call as much as he could, and he would try to parent from where he was. So it's the hard thing. It's not a position. That's what I'm trying to say. It's what you do with it, not the fact. Just like sometimes a mother is not the one that pushes a child out into this world, father is also not the one that just made the donation, or is the husband of the mother. It's who is actually there, doing the caring, being there, tutoring, imparting, praying, day after day after day. And even if they don't sleep in the same house, if they do take that responsibility, call the kid every day. How is things going? Goes to the school. That is a father. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's not an absent father. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a blessing when you can have a father in the home, but it's also a double blessing when you get to have your father and your stepfather. And the reason why I'm saying is when Malik graduated a few weeks ago, and they had the parents up there with him. Well, his biological father is married to someone else, and his mother is married to someone else. So Malik I think he was the only one that was up there. He had mom and dad, Mark, on one side, and he had his biological father, Maurice and Ginger, on the other side. Yeah. And I thought that was a beautiful example of two families coming together, different people coming together and pouring into his life. Now that's a blessing.
But that's a blessing if you are mature enough to realize that it's not about whatever happened between you and me. It's about us working towards the parenting of the child. Yes. And if I have a new spouse and you have a new spouse, that all four of us are coming together for the well-being of the child. Yes. And we have to put our egos aside. We have to put whatever aside because this is about the well-being of the child. That's when that works. Absolutely.
There are also fathers who step in.
Oh, yeah.
My grandfather was the best father. My mom and my aunt would tell me how he was with them when they were growing up and how gentle he was. My grandfather was a big man in stature, but he was a gentle man. And said that he would work at night and come in the morning and turn the oven on in the kitchen and lay their socks on the oven door to make sure that when they woke up and they put their socks or their stockings on or whatever, that they were warm.
That's nice.
And he wanted to get off work before everybody woke up so he would have a chance to make a fire so you wouldn't get up in a cold house.
Wow.
Now, my granddad, I think he only had a 4th grade education. He only had a 4th grade education. But education had nothing to do with what kind of heart.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a heart issue.
So fatherhood is a heart issue. You can be a father. You can be a name on a birth certificate. You can be someone that they find out later on that you're their father.
You're just a paycheck that comes.
Yeah. Fatherhood, being a father can come in so many different ways, but the one that matters is the heart of the father.
Absolutely.
The heart of the father. And unfortunately, through bad experiences, unfortunately, through generational curses, a lot of fathers don't have good track records. Before I got pregnant with my first child, I prayed that whoever my husband would be, I could feel safe with him. I can feel safe knowing that if I called him or when I called him, he would be there to assist, to uplift, to protect, to teach. That was my prayer. And God answered my prayer. See, I didn't ask for a perfect husband because there's no such thing.
You will still be single.
I asked for a man with a heart of God.
Oh, and you have it.
A heart. And I got that. And next month, it'll be 41 years. I got that. Even when I didn't realize what I had, I had that. It was already in the house.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that because I didn't want to have to fight the rest of my life.
Oh, no.
And yeah, that is a blessing. But also a blessing, those committed fathers.
Oh, yes.
Whether they can be there in person or not. When
we went to Florida last month, I was talking to my cousin, and she has, one of her kids. It's is a dad. He's not married to the baby's mom. They have the week split right to the middle, and but even though they have this week split right to the middle, because of something in her schedule, he takes her to school or picks her up, and the bus comes get her from his place. He or picks it up. I know it's either the morning or the afternoon that he does every day because of her schedule. Yeah, so it's not a bus. He takes care of that, and she does the other. There's certain days because of her schedule that they have split it right there, and she, I've seen the pictures on Facebook, and I know Facebook, you kind of be like, but I've seen the pictures of him. She's 4. She was born 2 days before Mason, and I see him. He has an older daughter. That one I did see with my own eyes. When he has, I don't know the mom where she is. I've never seen her. I've always seen that girl with him. And he has raised his daughter. He takes her out. He takes her to school. He goes to the school for whatever. He took her out on dates. Now he takes both of his princesses on dates. The little girl and the big one. He's always there physically, mentally. He's there all the time. And he's a very young man. But he had an example because his parents are married, and his dad is a good dad, very faithful, very good in the household, provider, great man. And he has done the same. He's never been married, but he has 2 kids, and he's there every single day. Yeah. So it's not an issue of age. It's not an issue of education. It's an issue of heart and willingness. And hear me out. This is not just anecdotal. Well, it's not just by stories that we hear. I probably can't say the word, but it's backed up by research. The Journal of Marriage and Family found that the father absence is significantly linked to lower self-esteem, particularly among adolescent males. And the Children's Bureau highlights that children with absent fathers are more likely to struggle with trust, identity, and emotional stability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know that. It's true.
My children were blessed
Mm-hmm.
because their father was not just in the home, he was active.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have a good dad.
Oh, I'm sure.
Who has taught you good things.
Yeah.
In life, spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
Emotional, intellectual,
Mm-hmm.
how to treat yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how to treat your significant other,
mm-hmm.
how to treat your children.
Mm-hmm.
There are men that are in the home and they are good examples. They have been good examples. Mm-hmm. But when your children grow up and they make decisions,
that's a whole different story.
When
choices.
They make decisions.
Yes.
And make choices
yeah.
that go totally against the way that they have been raised. Mm-hmm. That's when a man has to search himself. And he has to be able to sleep at night to know I did everything that I could.
Right. Right. No, they are good fathers that don't generate good children, but it's not because of their raising, it's because of the choices that people mm-hmm. make as grown-ups. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's like kids that grew up in church all their lives, and as soon as they become adults, they can't wait to get away from there.
Yeah.
Because maybe they feel like they're missing something, mm-hmm. they're not having fun or whatever. And then you get out there and you're so deep. Mm-hmm. You wake up one day and you're too deep mm-hmm. to get out. Mm-hmm. And the choices that you made, mm-hmm. You end up somewhere that you don't want to be, you mm-hmm. don't need to be. Mm-hmm. And that's not fair to your children that they have to grow up without you mm-hmm. because of choices that you made. And instead of having family in the forefront of your mind, mm-hmm. You would have self mm-hmm. in the forefront of your mind. Mm-hmm. And when you put self over your family mm-hmm. or over your children, you end up in places that you can't come out of. Mm-hmm. Okay? And there are some fathers who have been incarcerated. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, they did their time and they came out and they're a better person for it. Mm-hmm. There are some that are incarcerated. They didn't do their time and they're still
acting out,
dodging and mm-hmm. ducking. And then there are some
that are not coming home. Mm-hmm.
Because of decisions they made, they will not be home.
But you know what? Just like I was saying, even with those decisions, what you decide to do with that is what counts. Mm-hmm. Because again, if you're in jail for whatever reason, are you going to talk to your children? Are you going to impart on them so that they don't make the same mistakes? Are you going to finally, even though you're not coming home because mm-hmm. you're there, are you going to turn your life around in there and then impart that into your children? Pray for your children, cover for your children. No, you can't provide or protect because you're not there and you make some decisions that take you there. But you can still do your part no matter where you are.
Yes, you can.
And that's a personal decision.
Because I know some mothers, I know we're talking about Father's mm-hmm. Day, but there are some mothers who are behind bars mm-hmm. for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And they are better mothers through that thick glass mm-hmm. and on the phone.
Mm-hmm. There's some that are with the kids every day.
The same thing is with the fathers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are some fathers that are more fatherly, incarcerated, than there are some that are in the home every day.
Right.
So fatherhood is not just a noun.
No.
An adjective. Fatherhood is a verb. Because fatherhood has to be an action word.
And what you were talking about is, you may have a good parent and then you made some bad choices. But then here's the problem. Now that you decided to make some choices and not be a good parent, now you're creating, like you said, a new cycle of curses where now you inflicted wounds into your children that are not going to magically disappear, that they're going to carry into adulthood, that they're going to carry probably into their parenting and into their faith, into their relationships because of your decisions. Even though you did not get that from your previous parents, from your parents, but then you did that pushing it forward.
And that's why it does take a village.
It does.
It takes a village to raise children. I remember when I was growing up, I told you about the day I got 4 or 5 whoopings from 4 or 5 different people. I didn't agree with the way that I was being disciplined and so many times that day for the same thing. I didn't agree with that. But I know I grew up being a better adult. Okay? A better adult. And I know I grew up being respectful because I was taught that by my grandfather, who only had a 4th grade education. My mother taught him how to sign his name so that he can endorse the back of his checks. He worked in the mine.
Wow, at night.
He was a miner. And he was a miner that got black lung.
Oh.
Yeah, he did. But he took care of his family. And when the mines weren't going or he was laid off or whatever, he still got up early in the morning, went walking, he picked up aluminum cans and would turn them in for money. And he would come home and whatever money he made, he would put it on the kitchen table for grandma and tell her, do what you can with this. So it's not about education.
No, absolutely.
But it's about being teachable. Being teachable.
Well, and hear me out. Sometimes people think that, and I get it, you want to give your children what you didn't have. But there are people who are busting their behinds, 2, 3 jobs, not to feed, but to give luxury. And you're missing the point. Because right now, I've been reading Proverbs, and one of the things is better to eat a stale piece of bread in a corner than be in a bad place. And if you're working a second job to give luxury and not being at home with your child, you're missing the point. Because yes, you're going to be able to give them vacations. Yes, you will be able to give them the Nikes. Yes, you will be able to give them all the luxury. But if you're not there because you're over there trying to make more money and you're not in their daily lives, you're missing the opportunity of the connection, of, or the impartation. And sometimes, and then you create a child that is probably selfish and materialistic and who's never satisfied with what they have because everything they've gotten is material stuff. Right. And of course we want our kids to have better than we had. Absolutely. But sometimes, a child is happier with a Dollar Tree toy than with a computer if their parents not there. You know, they rather have Timu shoes than the Nikes, but the parents there. You know, that's the child still has shoes. That's what I'm saying. It's not that if you're working to provide, the kid still has shoes, but are you working for the expensive shoes because they need to have luxury, or are you working for the need instead of and the wants? Are you working for the wants instead of the needs? And that's the big difference. And here's the thing: when we don't have a good parenting or a good father in terms of our relationship with God, it is very hard to believe that God could love us unconditionally. But the scripture reminds us that he's not like man, he can't lie. Matthew 7:11 tells us, Jesus says, if you, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him?
Mm-hmm. And that verse paints a powerful picture. God isn't flawed. God isn't distant, and God is not abusive.
Right.
He's generous.
Yes.
He's attentive.
Yes.
And he is loving.
Yes. Yes.
He's loving.
And and even when we feel abandoned, Deuteronomy 31:6 assures us he will never leave you nor forsake you. That's a father we can trust.
Yep. And I love that because we also want to honor the earthly fathers who do live like that, who do live that out. The dads who are present, the dads who are loving, the dads who are teaching and who are protective, and the ones who reflect the heart of God through their parenting.
Absolutely. Ephesians 6:4 instructs fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. These are the dads who guide with wisdom and grace, not fear and control. Right. Like I said, discipline doesn't necessarily mean get a 2x4. There's way more ways to discipline a child.
Right. And they may not be perfect.
Oh, no.
But their presence, their affection, and their commitment that they give to their children is a head start in understanding the character of God.
Absolutely.
Who God is.
Yeah.
And we just finished a series of God Did It.
Yes,
at
church.
And the names of God. When we know the names of God and we know what those names mean, we take on a whole nother relationship with God.
Absolutely.
God, Jehovah Shalom, who's our peace. Jehovah Rapha, who's the God, the healer.
Jireh, the one who provides.
He's our provider. Jehovah Roha, I see you. The God that sees you. Now that did something to me. When you think that God has left you, when you think that he's forgotten you, his word reminds us that he's Jehovah Seer. He sees us. Emmanuel, God is with us. And Jehovah Sikkenu, our righteousness. So when we learn the names of God, when fathers allow themselves to open up and to learn who God is, who he is through them, and what God can do through them to raise the next generation.
Absolutely.
Not just raise them, but to impart in them, to invest in them, to love on them. Not just, they know I love them because I provide this, and this. Oh.
That was my mom.
It's not about the money.
Yeah. You should know that I love you because I provide. But never said I love you, never said a tender moment, never, no hug. Well, yeah, I was hugging and she never pushed, but she was not that kind of a person. And if you are not that kind of a person, who look in your heart and see why. Who hurt you? Yeah. That made you not be affectionate? Yeah. What wound you have to heal that you can hug your child, that you can hug your wife, that you can hug your brother, your sister, your mom? Yeah. And that's a wound that God can heal. Oh, yes. But you have to examine, where does that come from? The wounds that I had dealing with my father, I didn't think they would ever heal. I understand that. I went through counseling. I went through, had a village of people who showed me what unconditional love was, who showed me that I could go to sleep at night and not be afraid, who showed me that I could feel safe with them. I had a man who had already raised his children, but because his two daughters, for whatever reason, were in a predicament where they had to divorce their husbands, that was for children whose fathers were not in their lives. And this man, who was born in what we call in Alabama the country, and below Montgomery, Hope Hull, Alabama. 97% of people never heard of it, but and only a fourth grade education. He was the best. He was the best granddad. When school started, we never went without school clothes. Whatever activity in school we were in, he made sure we needed costumes, uniforms, whatever. It was paid for. It was there. He made sure that we didn't miss a beat. He made sure of that. So it's not about your education, Dad. No. There are PhDs who are not effective being good dads to their children, to let them know I'm better than this. I don't have to take this. I'm better than this. And unfortunately, there are so many young men and women who that standard wasn't set for them. Right. Except circumstances. That bar was not set for them. So they start with a lower bar. Well, and you have fathers that don't, because of the absentee, don't teach how to solve conflict. And, and you have kids getting in trouble because they don't know how to solve conflict. Yeah. They were not taught how to do that. And running away from your problems is not going to help solve them. Right. And or they're aggressive because they don't know how to be gentle or have a conversation about things. They just know that if they're frustrated, boom, that's one of the reasons, and it's not the only reason, but why they sometimes go and find a family outside their family. That is a family that is not. It's the wrong one. Gangs and people with bad habits. And predators. And predators, because they couldn't find. And there could be absolutely great fathers, and a kid could end up in the hands of a predator. Don't get me wrong. Parents could be very involved, very loving, very caring, but choices. And kids sometimes make bad choices. So let me make that clear. But if you go the opposite, it's kind of like not everything a finger is a thumb, but every thumb is a finger, that kind of a thing. Not every kid that ends up in this kind of situation is because of their parents, but every kid that but the ones that get in this situation, the majority are because of those issues. When you look back, we talk sometimes about the school shootings, and is either fatherlessness or fathers that were there but they were absent and didn't care, and the kid was doing whatever they were doing. So it's that kind of a thing. But to the fathers who are doing their job, thank you, bless you. You are seen, you are appreciated. Yes. You reflect the kind of love that changes generations. Yes. And if you, as a father, didn't have an example, find a mentor. Mm-hmm. Find a man in the church that you see that's living it. Mm-hmm. And don't just jump immediately. Get to know the person, because sometimes people show charades, and when you get to meet them, they're not the real deal. But get to know somebody and get in connection and get some accountability, get some, mentoring, so that you can be the one who breaks the generational curses. Yes. And so that your children and the children of your children and the children of the children of your children are blessed because of that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Happy Father's Day.
Yes.
To even the men who never planted a seed.
Oh, there are many father figures.
Have the heart of God.
Mm-hmm.
They have a father's heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my brother never had any children.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 grandsons.
Oh, and he loves.
No, he's in. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
5 boys.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only boy.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my mom in the house, but now I have 5 grandsons.
And he leaves for calling the boys and making sure they have what they need.
And he wants the best.
He wants the best for them. And if there's an event that he can come, he will. So yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. He's part of that village. Absolutely. And you have uncles, and you have godfathers, and you have teachers who actually care for their children and look out for them. You have neighbors, yes, who actually coaches that actually try to be that father figure, even if they don't have children. So yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Definitely. As we close today's episode, Naty, what would you like to leave with our listeners?
Well, here's the thing. Even if whether you've experienced your earthly father, however it's been, if it was a blessing or if it was brokenness or his absence, God desires to reveal himself to you as the perfect father, one who's loving and just and near. Psalm 103:13 says, as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. Mm-hmm. And it's not fear of, it's the reverence of the creator. Just like in our earthly bodies, we take that our fathers made us. Our Father in heaven was the one that actually created us. And it's that reverence to our Father.
And it takes more than I know God. My grandma, you can't live on your grandmother's salvation story.
No.
You can't live on your mother's salvation story.
Oh, no.
It's like, do you have a relationship with God? Oh, yeah, my mom took me to church when I was growing up. Yeah, but do you have a relationship with God? Mm-hmm. And we have to realize that the only salvation story that we can live on
is our own. Absolutely.
Is our own. Wherever you come from, whatever the condition of your home, mm-hmm. of your relationship with your Father, mm-hmm. God is here for you. Mm-hmm. He wants to guide you, mm-hmm. lead you, comfort you, love you. Absolutely. He wants to let you know that you are the head and not the tail.
Yes.
And we appreciate and we love mm-hmm. fathers.
Absolutely.
We need fathers.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We do. And for those who are hurting, still healing, remember that healing is possible. I am a personal witness that healing from brokenness is possible. And your story doesn't end with pain. God can restore. God is a redeemer. He's a rebuilder of what was lost and what was broken. And I know that personally, that is true.
And to the dads that are listening, know that you don't have to be perfect to be impactful. Just be present, be loving, be consistent,
be purposeful.
Be purposeful.
Yes.
I know you're tired from work, but the kid's about to go to sleep. Hold on the video games, spend an hour, and then you'll have the rest for the video games. The alone model, that alone models the heart of God in a way that words never could.
The heart of God? Our Bible tells us that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Jesus is God's prized gift, his prized Son. No one could be more proud of their son than God is of his Son, Jesus. And he loved him enough to send him as a sacrifice, to show us he loved us and we weren't even there. We weren't thought of. And people are born every day. God sent his Son for them, for us. And an example that we can strive.
Absolutely.
Press toward the mark.
Right.
Of the prize of the high calling, which is in Jesus Christ. When you want a promotion, what do?
You work hard.
You work hard. Okay? When you want to be seen, what do?
You work hard.
You work hard. So anything that you want to be a father. But I haven't had any biological children. Lord, show me who needs a mentor. Who needs someone to pour into them so that they can grow up and be mighty men of valor. Okay. Good show.
Yeah.
Hopefully there is something that we have talked about today that encouraged you.
Right.
Gave you hope. Restores joy. To know that God is always with you. Always. Whether you feel him or not.
Amen.
And he is the true Father. Thank you for joining us today on Thrive by the Rising Muse. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 988. If a loved one is experiencing a mental health emergency, please dial 911 or take them to the nearest emergency room.
If you think you're in a domestic violence relationship, need someone to talk, or need assistance, please call 800-799-7233 or text 88788. Make sure you're safe when you make that outreach. Also remember to follow us on social media. We are at The Rising Muse on all platforms. And remember, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Help us get there.
And just a reminder, that text is 887-888. Okay? Yes. And we want to let you know there is help. Help is possible, and there is hope. Be gentle with yourself. Take care of your heart. And remember, God is not like the Father who failed you here on earth. He is good. He is faithful. And he is always near. So until next time,
don't forget to thrive. Happy Father's Day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.